The war between the Virillians and the Drakari had lasted for over 100 years. No one remembered how it started anymore, only that it had consumed entire star systems, turned lush planets into burning ruins, and left billions dead in its wake. The galaxy had once been bright with trade routes and alliances. Now it was divided by fear, smoke, and endless retaliation. Princess Elira of Virellia stood at the edge of her palace balcony, staring at the crimson skies of her dying homeworld. Below her, warships filled the atmosphere like metal vultures waiting for a corpse to fall. Every day, the Drakari advanced closer. Every day, her people lost hope. Her advisors had only one solution left: a marriage. Not to one of their own kind, but to a human. At first, Elira had laughed at the idea. Humans were outsiders, a young species barely known in galactic politics. They had no empire, no ancient technology, no legendary warriors. They were unpredictable, emotional, and considered irrelevant in interstellar wars. But that was exactly why they were chosen. The humans were neutral, and neutrality was the only thing left that both sides might accept. The plan was simple. Unite Princess Elira with a human representative, form a symbolic alliance, and use it to force peace negotiations with the Drakari. It wasn't love. It wasn't even trust. It was survival. Still, something about it felt dangerous, because the human chosen for her was not a diplomat. He was a soldier. His name was Captain Adrian Cole. The first time Elira saw him, she expected arrogance or fear. Instead, she found silence. He stood inside the diplomatic chamber wearing a simple black uniform, no medals displayed, no weapon visible. His eyes were calm, almost empty, but not in a lifeless way. It was the kind of calm that comes from surviving things others couldn't imagine. "You're late," Elira said coldly. Adrian glanced at her. "I was told aliens don't care about punctuality." A faint tension filled the room. No one spoke to the princess like that. But Elira didn't react the way they expected. Instead, she stepped closer. "You understand why you're here? Marriage to end a war, or at least delay one. And if it fails?" He finally looked directly at her. "Then we all die anyway." There was no fear in his voice, only acceptance. That disturbed her more than anything else. The ceremony took place on a neutral space station orbiting a dead moon. Cameras from every major system broadcast the event. The galaxy was watching, not out of celebration, but anticipation. Many believed this union would collapse within days. Elira wore ceremonial armor woven with light reactive crystals. Adrian wore his same black uniform. When the union was declared official, there was no kiss, no celebration, only a handshake that sealed political fate. And then something unexpected happened. A Drakari fleet appeared at the edge of the system. They had come to destroy the station. The peace attempt was over before it began. Panic erupted across the station. Security forces scrambled. Elira's advisors shouted orders. The Drakari ships advanced with terrifying precision, their weapons charging. "This is why alliances don't work with savages," one council member muttered. But Adrian was already moving. "Where are you going?" Elira demanded. "To stop them," he said simply. "With what army?" He paused for a fraction of a second. "Mine." Before she could respond, he activated a small device on his wrist, and the station shook. From hidden docking bays beneath the structure, ships began to emerge. Human ships. Not diplomatic escorts, not civilian transports. Warships. Dozens of them. Elira froze. "You said you were just a soldier." "I am, but not just one." The human fleet had been hidden in the shadows of the system, waiting, silent, undetected, far more advanced than anyone had believed possible. The Drakari hesitated. Then the battle began.
Elira watched from the command deck as space erupted into chaos. Human ships moved differently, faster, sharper, like they were predicting enemy movements before they happened. Drakari vessels, known for their brutal strength, were being dismantled with terrifying efficiency. "What are they?" Elira whispered. Adrian stood beside her now. "A mistake," he said quietly. She turned to him. "That is not an answer." He hesitated. Then he said the truth. Humanity was never weak. We just learned early that the galaxy would fear us if we showed everything. Elira felt something shift inside her. "You hid your power, even from your allies?" "We don't have allies. We have survival." Another explosion lit up the void outside. A Drakari flagship was torn apart from within. But something was wrong. The Drakari weren't retreating. They were adapting. "They're learning our tactics," one officer shouted. "They're countering the human formations." Adrian's expression changed for the first time. Concern. "They evolved faster than expected," he muttered quietly. Elira stepped closer. "Can you still win?" He looked at her, and for the first time she saw something deeper behind his calm exterior. Not confidence, not arrogance, control. "Yes," he said, "but I may have to end this differently." He left the command deck without explanation. Elira followed him through the station's lower corridors until she reached a restricted chamber. Inside, she saw something that made her blood run cold. A sealed armor system. Not mechanical, biological. It reacted to his presence like it was alive. "You were never just a soldier," she said slowly. Adrian didn't deny it. "I was engineered for wars humanity hoped would never come." He stepped into the armor. It fused with him, covering his body in shifting dark energy and glowing neural lines. The air trembled as power levels spiked beyond anything the station's systems could measure. Elira stepped back. "What are you becoming?" He looked at her one last time. A warning. Then he was gone. Outside, the battlefield changed instantly. Adrian moved through space itself, not inside a ship, but across vacuum, bending momentum, tearing through enemy formations with precision that no natural being could match. Drakari ships fell, one after another, not from explosions alone, but from systems shutting down as if reality itself rejected them. The Drakari commander ordered full retreat, but it was too late. When silence finally returned to the system, the human fleet stood victorious, but still. Adrian returned to the station hours later. The armor dissolved from his body as if it had never existed. Elira stared at him, struggling to process what she had witnessed. "You could have ended the war at any time," she said softly. "Yes." "Then why wait?" He looked towards the stars. "Because power without understanding only creates more wars." A long silence followed. Then Elira asked the question she was afraid to hear the answer to. "What happens now?" Adrian turned to her. Now there was something different in his eyes. Not emptiness, not arrogance. Something almost human. "Now," he said, "we see if peace is something worth fighting for, or something worth becoming." In the days that followed, the war did not end completely, but it changed. For the first time in a century, the Drakari hesitated, and the galaxy began to whisper about the human who had appeared from nowhere, and the alien princess who married him, not to stop a war, but to survive what came after it.